Hello everyone. I'm glad to be here with you today. I'd be talking, I'm very glad that Pierre already did something about going on the pilot because it's very high level and very pragmatic stuff to behave in case of stress. I'm going to talk about some big key point of stress that everyone finds it's boring. What is boring when you're a freelancer? Is it the mission? Is it the administrative stuff? Is it protecting yourself? Well, guys, who are freelancers? How many freelancers are in this room? Only one. What is boring for you? Searching clients. What else? Administrative stuff is boring? Yes, of course. So just coding is good, actually. Yeah, okay. How many of you have thought to become freelancers? Why? Money. Of course, money. Because you get a lot much more than when you're salaried. And that makes sense. Because when you are hired by a company, the objective basically to companies creating value. So the objective for them is to keep the salary as little as possible to get the much value of the people. Maybe we'll change that. Ron did a wonderful speech yesterday, and maybe more people will have this sustainability, but profitability is one of the main goals of the companies. And on that, what we can see is that freelancers can manage their own day rate, can manage their own invoicing, but when there is only one freelancer in this room and many people that wants to become, what stopped you? What stopped you from becoming a freelancer? Mission?
Yeah, probably finding the clients.
You're a developer. You find clients on the grass. It's boring missions, exactly. And that's the key point. Thank you very much for having saying that. So basically, I'm gonna see with you the fundamental problem and need of protection as a freelancer, and you're gonna discover why. The fundamental mission of OpenWork, as we see it, but it's also our service, so when the mission matches the service, you have a good company, is to protect freelancers anywhere they decide to work in the world. Well, we used a legalized, well, when we started the company, it was not legalized. It was 2010, and portage salarial in France was legalized in 2015. So maybe we were pirates at the time, but now we are Corsair. We are fully legalized. That's a real service. The portage salarial is the equivalent of EOR, Employer of Record. Does that ring a bell to you? Do you know what means employees of record? Or umbrella services? No. Yeah. You're English? Yeah, that's why. Actually, this is a very easy service. We salary freelancers. That means we take care of all the protection they need. Maybe in UK, there is no good reputation for umbrella services company. Or maybe there is. There is? Mixed. Yeah. That maybe the service is good, but they don't deliver it well. Our community is around 3,000 consultants over the last 10 years. We have more than 1,200 users of our service, and every month we do 700 payslips. So as you see, this is not a big numbers, but actually getting this service for that much people and doing it great, it's kind of hard. But we are glad to do it, because it's worth it. And we are currently doing that for French and Belgian freelancers. And as my friend told us, well, even what we discovered after talking to more than 5,000 freelancers is even for IT and tech freelancers, it's often hard to find a mission that find and that match a great product to work on, a great team to work with, and a great day rate of invoicing. And when you match that, you have found a mission. But I agree with you, that's very rare. And we discover a unique correlation of that. When you discover that kind of mission, well, if we take a 101 business school graph, let's say if we take the excitement to start the mission versus the awareness and care for the detail of managing its activity and all the administrative stuff that's very boring, basically, we find a curve like that. But when you're under this curve, you're in the danger zone. Why are you in this danger zone? It's because when you start the mission, and that's very funny, sometimes we have freelancers calling us, hello, yeah, I started 15 days ago in a company doing a very great service, great mission, but do you think I need a commercial contract? Well, I think you do. Do you have a work contract? No. Do you have a commercial contract? No. So what are you doing in the company working for the client? Have you decided, oh, well, I've got an email, he's told me to start. Oh, okay. Well, you're illegal employed. So that's very great. So basically, you have a lack of commercial protection. You have an insufficient social protection because basically you're here with no status. And you have an incomplete administrative and financial protection. And especially when it comes to company creation and management. Who among you has his own company? Do you like managing it? Yes. Yeah? Do you understand all the stuff your accountant is saying? Yeah, he speaks easy. No, but yeah. Have you thought about all the protection you need? Maybe not. Well, so I was thinking, okay, I'm doing administrative stuff. This is for developer. What can I added value presentation can I do for you? But basically, we're going to share a basic checklist of all the fundamentals protection you need when you start working in France, in Europe, in the world. Sometimes I see some freelancers going to Thailand and say, oh, great, I found a client in France, but I'm moving to Thailand to work remotely. Okay, how do you invoice him? Oh, yeah, I should invoice him. Okay, but are you declared in Thailand as working remotely? No, I'm on holidays, but I can work. Yeah, right. It's going to be fun on the fiscal and social way for you. So basically, what we want to do is give you the fundamental basic checklist that's very pragmatic and focus on the risk correlated. So basically about the commercial protection. Well, this is a nice developer team. And the structuration commercial of the commercial contract for freelancers start with him. And if you're this guy and you don't have a work contract or commercial contract, well, you should not be here. You're illegally working. That's not a big deal, but that can be, especially for your client. So, what do you need, and what are the must-have basics when you start to work as a freelancer? What are the basics? Yeah, but what do you put in your contract? Salary. You put a salary in your contract? Or day rate, or... day rate, yeah. Of course, the scope of mission and description. Sometimes, developer to the project. Okay, what do you do in the project? Because your client, as you know, they may ask you more, and more, and more, and more, and more. And if you don't deliver, well, I don't pay the invoice. Good. Sometimes, shit happens. Start and end date. Obviously, a contract has a start and end date. Why especially is it good to have an end date to the contract? Well, it's always good to renegotiate the day rate. Because then you have the daily and monthly rate and numbers of days forecast. That's very important. Because if your client say, oh, you can come work and hasn't been budgeted it on his side, you're going to get trouble to be paid for your invoice. Second, key articles. Well, sometimes you even don't forget You even forget to put what could be the break point of the contract. I see many contracts that, okay, it's going to be good between us. Yeah, it's going to be good between you, but what if it's not? How do you break the contract? How much will it cost? Have you have some contracts that say, okay, I can fire you from one day to another, but you have to give me a notice for 3 months? Did you? No, it was even. It was fair. Yeah, because that's the basic stuff. You have to have fairness, especially of notice period. Many freelancers doesn't even pay attention to that. They can be fired from one day to another, while they have to give a 3 months notice period. Otherwise, the invoice won't be paid. Well, that's basically very unfair. And you should get advice on that. Well, break fees. Sometimes, oh, if you leave me in the middle of the project, then you should owe me $100,000. That's great, and that's true facts. We had some contracts where we have to explain on behalf of the freelancer to the client, you cannot put this, because otherwise, if you don't do that on your side, you owe the freelancer 100,000. So if you break him from one day to another, the break fees should be on both sides. So no break fees or break fees for the both sides, but you cannot have one break fees and not on the other side. And of course, and many freelancers don't pay attention too much of that, how do you validate the activity? Because have you worked for many big organizations? Have you worked for some like a purchase department? You know, purchase department are big machinery. When they receive an invoice, oh, has the operational side validated it? Yeah, it has not. And even us, sometimes we get trapped with 4 invoices unpaid and saying, oh, I did not have on the invoice the purchase number on SAP, so I cannot pay you. And the guy has already finished the mission. So you have to explain to the guy, why didn't you issue a purchase order? Ah, well, our process, you know, well, that's 4 months of unpaid invoice. It's been 90 days. We need the money back, as Margaret Thatcher would say. So define the timesheet and reporting tool, and define the validation system. Who is going to validate it, and how long will it take him? Oh, I was in holidays for 3 weeks. Yeah, thank you. My invoice is not paid for 3 weeks. I have to pay bills. And avoid many multi-layers validation. Oh, I need my manager to validate my manager validation. Well, that's complicated. And when you send your invoice, get it directly to the accounting department. Don't go through your operational, which will sometimes, unfortunately and not consciously, forget to forward that to the accounting department. Did you do that mistake? No, great. Get the address, get the account, and get the phone number. Oh, sorry, my invoice is 3 days late. Have you forget to? Oh, I didn't have a purchase number. Great, 1 month, not 4 months. And that way, if you structure that as a freelancer, you're 95% protected. Well, you never know the 5%. This is margin for error. Feel free to deliver service after you structured that. Nice to have some keys on the checklist. Regularity of invoice. Please avoid, oh, send your invoice at the end of the project. Well, the project lasts 4 months. I'm not sending a big invoice on the last 4 months. This is really basic stuff, actually. This is not a rocket science. But you'd be surprised how many freelancers, it's like 80% of freelancers doesn't even pay attention to that. And when we explain them that to telephone, they say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But you would not have to done that. Delay of payments, sometimes, oh, I'm paying you in 90 days. Yeah, thank you. 30 days would be more. Avoid more than 30 days because it gets long. I know in UK you're very thorough with that. it's usually 5 days. But in France, it can go to 60 days. So, well, say 30 days is good, 15 days is great. 5 days is better. And of course, include the next contract already and renegotiation clauses on the next contract. Especially for long-term contract when you see the project is going to last like 2 or 3 years. How about social protection? Who is from a foreign country than France? Where are you from? Brazil. Do you have a good social protection in Brazil? Not really. UK? Sorry? Yes? You have free healthcare? Great. You?
Venezuela.
Oh, well, okay. You don't. That can be tricky. Venezuela. Yeah. Do you have a good social protection in Venezuela?
I think it never exists. I actually got scammed on a freelance project with the Venezuela company I worked with for years.
Yeah. You were not very well protected even by your country. Thank you. Another country? No? Yeah. Social protection is very important. And actually, I'd like to get a little bit inspiration from the French system. You know, there is this saying in France that says France is the only communist country that succeeded. Well, basically it's true. Basically, we have made in the social system mandatory so much protection that even the French people doesn't know when they accept to be salaried how much protection do they have. First, as you were saying in English, you have public and mandatory health care insurance and complementary health insurance for teeth, for glasses, and everything. Well, that's mandatory, yeah? You were just brushing the air. Sorry. So, actually, the movie Breaking Bad could not have been set up in France because the guy, oh, I have cancer. Yeah, I give my vital card. End of the soap. Breaking Bad is infeasible in France because you have free healthcare, even for lung diseases. And it's all taken charge. But when you go to another country, even Belgium, which can look close, even when you go to UK for special purpose of surgery, because we also have a UK subsidiary. When you go to Thailand, get private one. Do not forget that, and do not forget, because this is, without else, you cannot do anything. Well, actually, I think that was the message from Warren Garan yesterday. Without else, you don't do anything. This is not sustainable. Retirement pension. Oh, that's vast. Vast subject. Do you believe in your state for your retirement? Raise the hand from those who believe in the state for retirement pension. Okay. Who believe in themselves for retirement pension? Will the retirement pension will be made in Bitcoin? Or do you prefer Bitcoin? I've got one. Be careful. Just split the risk. Also take some shares of, I don't know, Johnson & Johnson. So, well, retirement pension in France, it's mandatory, public, and, well, state may not be reliable, but shares can be reliable. Bitcoin can be reliable. Basically, anything that can happen can't be reliable. So, well, in France, it's mandatory when you're salaried, and it's mandatory when you're a freelancer using portage salarial. But if you have your own company, when you invoice 100, well, 15 should never be expensed at all. It's on a special account. It's called retirement, and you don't touch it until you actually retired. Of course, if you have a good Bitcoin news, and suddenly it goes up, you sell it, you have 2 million euro or dollars on your account, well, maybe you can come to 10. Create your passive income. Death and invalidity insurance. Actually, that's a question that we unfortunately had to deal with in OpenWork sometimes. One consultant is working and he dies. Who do you owe the money to? And especially if he was the only source of revenue of the family, how will the family keep on going to live? Well, in France, it's mandatory to have the death and invalidity insurance. Think of your wife, think of your children, think of your dog. But anyway, get one private if you're in another country, because death and invalidity insurance, it's very important, especially if you have wife and kids. It's mandatory in France since 1956. So basically just after World War II. Well, we have this in France that is mandatory too. Pôle emploi, it's called unemployment insurance. That's a very good insurance in France. You work 12 months for, let's say, 5,000 euros net. You get, for 12 months, 2,500 net of unemployment insurance if you don't find a new job or new mission. That's a very protective insurance. Well, if you have your own company, well, you need to get from 3 to 6 months of basic savings on your accounts to be able to do the intermission until you find one interesting. Which can take a long time, I agree with you, especially on technology side. And think of other advantages that are public and mandatory in France, free trainings, company savings, but basically, and you know that as developer maybe more than anyone else, consultant training is always the best social protection. I talk a lot with creators of companies and they say, oh, no, me, I don't have to take a regular pay slip. I just take my dividends at the end of the year because they are less taxable. Yeah, that's great, and you're right. But sometimes before the dividends, it can take a long time. It can take like between 12 to 15 months. So basically, split the dividends and the regular pay slip with your activity. Do your payroll every month. Give yourselves some social protection and rights. And to make a social example of the cost of social protection in France, I couldn't help but get the numbers. You invoice 100. Well, let's say you use your company, you have 7 in management fees. Well, we have a cap to that. Usually it goes under. You have, I'd say, 93 supercharge, retirement pension. You have complementary and social security insurance. You have death and invalidity insurance. You have unemployment insurance. You have other social cotizations. And finally, net paid before tax is 50. After the taxes, income tax, you get around 38 to 48. My UK friends, what is your ratio? You don't know it? Not at all? I know it because I do pay slip in UK. Well, actually, for I'm not sure the same services, you get paid 55. And after taxes, it can go down to 40 to 45. So basically, that's the same ratio. Do you have the same global protection? You have them, not unemployment insurance, not that much. You have 75 pounds, I think, per week. Death and invalidity insurance, I'm not sure it's included. But on social security and retirement pension, you have them since 2008. Because before, it was only capitalization. And you took a system like France since. And you have also complementary retirement pension that is optional. Well, I'm French. It's easier to say, oh, I've got the best system. So basically, who are the best marketers in the world? Usually the Americans. And when Michael Moore, the documentarist, say in Where to Invite Next, In his documentary, Why Everybody Should Be Inspired from the French System, that's an American coming to France and saying, well, this is the ratio if you compared in United States and in France, all the same advantage that you get for free in France. So basically, we are a cheap system if you consider the full protection package. And everybody and every single line of the payslips tells you where it goes. So it's very, very transparent system in France, actually. Well, for those who will receive the presentation, I put the YouTube link if you want to see this part of where to invest next from Mycomo. I'm going to talk now on administrative and financial protection. Well, I see a lot of freelancers that have their own company. Oh, I'm doing my accounting. Do you do your own accounting? Yes, but I have only one client. It's easy. Have you ever called by the fiscal tax or? Not yet. How long have you been working?
1 year and a half.
You're good for the next 2 years. But these guys calls a lot. Because when they don't receive their monthly payslip, their monthly amount, they say, okay, has your employee really not worked? Oh, I didn't receive your retirement pension check. These guys calls, and an accountant is a validation of your accounting, a third-party validation. When you get the fiscal agent, you just say, talk to my accountant. And he will solve the problem because normally he would have done for you all the declaration. But also protect your business. Well, I see a lot of developers starting without professional and public liabilities. And if the client doesn't ask, well, you erased all the system. Oh, mince. Bad command on the GitLab. I erased everything. Who is responsible for that? Yourself and your company. And it comes to millions. So you owe millions unless you have taken one of these insurance. Well, you travel sometimes. Have you thought about kidnapping? That's real case. We experiment. We know, obviously, in our company, have an insurance kidnapping. That doesn't work for all the countries. We have 6 exceptions, and Venezuela is one of the exceptions. Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq. Mexico, Mexico is an exception. We have to take extra insurance that costs twice for all my employees for one employee. I think it's because of the drug problem, cartels and everything. And, well, you can even insure, I'm not sure if you know, your invoices. And they start to have a lot of advance on payments invoices. Well, as soon as you have the validation of the activity, some organism get you advance on payment. So you get the paycheck before receiving the money from your client. That's interesting sometimes. How many? 10%. In our company, it's 1%. But I have been doing a great audit of your client before. Otherwise, just don't take it. So to summarize, well, it's basically commercial protection, social protection, and administrative and financial protection. You see, it's very, very funny stuff. Well, they usually, to set it up, your own company, it will take 4 weeks in France. I don't know for other countries. In Venezuela, how long does it take to set up a company?
I work freelance in Spain, obviously. Oh. Venezuela is like an anarchic company you have with invoices in PayPal, falsifying stuff to not get your PayPal account deleted. I had to do that once. And perhaps if you're lucky, you can have an account in the US and you can declare there and do everything there the proper way, let's say.
So,
But yeah, there is
problems.
no Venezuela.
So in Spain, how long does it take to take your company?
If you have a good manager, one that manages your taxes and all of this, I mean, I think Yeah, I mean, among the thing is, well, I think that's the idea of this doing third party, or I mean, if
Oh.
you don't know about the Spanish law, which is really obsolete, I know,
It,
I know Spanish, obviously, I don't understand it.
so
You
it
need
takes time.
someone that understands that law and gets your accounting and your documents and everything.
Okay. And do you confirm the ratio that we have in France, that it takes between 15 to 20% of your time? I know you have only one client. Maybe it facilitates the following a process. But between the invoicing, the recovery of the money, the calling backs, payslip, no? How much? 5%? Ah, very good. And you have very good clients that doesn't cause you problems. Well, so basically, when you are in portage salarial, the onboarding is around, for any company in portage salarial, it's between 20 to 15 minutes. And of course, you have to find a way to manage easily your activities, but really, 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 a lot of companies in the last 3 years have been creating many, many simple softwares and many services, digitalized services to do that. So it became really easier for the last 3 years than it was for the last 20 years, when you don't even have a proper invoicing machine given by your accountant. Well, when you find an easy way to do it, it's 5 minutes per month, actually. Sorry? Shine as the account and the invoicing software. Great. They have been doing a lot of progress for the last 2 years. And they even helps you create your company. No.
Yeah, but I read by my own.
Right.
You can do it by Shine.
And expenses? Re-invoicing expenses? Not yet.
What does it mean?
But sometimes you have to re-expense to your client your expenses. Once I got into the train, I was sit to someone that was re-invoicing on Excel these expenses. Well, we start in Marseille, we arrived in Paris, she hasn't finished the invoice. So basically, that's the protection you need.